Architecture is a visual art and the buildings speaks for themselves. So true, especially when you drive down through Dubai and experience its beautiful architecture. But who is at the helm of this sublime art? The architects who conceptualize and then create a concrete shape. It's interesting to know how an architect thinks. And that's why I'm very excited to interview an architect, D Castro, founder of Bia Architecture, to understand how her love for art helped her in her field where only few women dare to dream. My first question is, of course, about your education. You're from Portugal. Tell me a little more about what inspired you to study architecture.
Actually, I wanted to be an artist. Because I always painted. I grew up in the middle of brushes, so I was always like drawing something. But then my mom and my father would tell me like, you know, you're already an artist, and by soul you're an artist, so why don't you instead study architecture? And you know, I started thinking like, why not? You know, architecture is something that could also give me the foundations for something else. Portugal is known by having like strong foundations for architecture.
Exactly.
We have very famous architects as Cisa Vieira and Sotomora. So we like our architecture and we are very proud of it.
And then from there you began to travel. You've traveled to many countries and gotten inspired by different cultures and heritage.
In Portugal, architecture is a 6 years course. So in the 5th year, we could do an option of traveling to 1 year to one country. So I chose to go to Brazil. I wanted to study the slums. So in Rio, I worked with the municipality and in a program that's called Fala Favela. And it was amazing because I really went to the core of the slums and I worked with the people. And then after I finished my graduation, I went to Switzerland to work for Herzog & Emerson. And I've just learned so much.
So much. It must be a learning every day.
Yeah, it was learning every second. And the office is very engaging. And I was very fortunate to work in 2 amazing projects. One of them was Miami Art Museum and the São Paulo Cultural Complex. 2 very large-scale projects. All these projects that you've been reading about, and like I used to go to the library. So suddenly you're just there with physical models, with
being a part of it,
like breathing like every day. And this, it can't be compared. Like this is the place that I've most learned in my life. After Switzerland, we went to São Paulo to work. Where I was very fortunate to work with Isai Vanfeld and Márcio Kogan and FMA architects. When I studied in Portugal, we are very traditional in Portugal. Like you study architecture, it's architecture. So it's a very functional and it's a very segregated. So architecture is architecture and interior design is interior design, and they don't cross each other. And then when I went to Brazil, it's a completely different world, and it's a plus. And you see things being combined and
merging into each
like fusing into each other, and see how they how they correlate. Especially Isai, the way that he designs things, like he just doesn't simply take a house or residential project. Like when he designs a house, he designs the architecture, he designs the interior design, he designs the furniture, he designs the handles. So for me, this is something completely new.
From a consumer's point of view, I would obviously need an architect who has a very good sense of interior designing. And that's when I know that I can get my vision translated into what I am really looking for.
Exactly.
So since you've traveled to so many countries and you've seen different design philosophies, after coming to Dubai, obviously it's a very futuristic city that we live in. What is your design philosophy and how are you adding to the projects that you have?
I think that whatever project you're designing, it's a residential project, a tower, a warehouse, you have to design for its surrounding, its specific surroundings. So it's not about your style. it's about the place that you're designing for. I think it's very important, like the views that you're aligning for. So you always have to put yourself in the position, like, for example, we are designing this house in Jumeirah. So the house might look like a volume from outside, and not a very seductive volume, okay, let's say. But then when you're inside, I've just framed the views. So you see Burj Al Arab, like if you sit in your bedroom on top of the bed at this height, you will see perfectly framed the view of Burj Al Arab. Or if you're in the living room at this distance, you will see the Burj Khalifa perfectly framed. So I think this is the most important thing. I think rather than designing for only an aesthetic purpose, you always have to design according to the spatial and according to the use of the space.
There are not many women in the field of architecture. How do you feel about that? And have you ever experienced any kind of restrictions coming your way because you're a woman in architecture?
Yeah, it's true. There are not many women in architecture because I think majorly people, they think that architecture is a man's job. You think like, oh, okay, interior design is for women and architecture is for men. Yeah. So like it's immediately segregated. Like that. And it's quite sad to think like that, because many times like I go to construction sites and like these towers, I'm the only woman most of the times. Like these big meeting rooms with 20 men, engineers, site engineers, everything. So not now that the project's almost in the end, but in the beginning I would go there and they would be like, who are you? What are you doing here? So then you have to prove yourself. And it's a constant proving. It's every day you have to prove yourself. Come on, like I don't need this. It's not that you have to work harder double. You have to work harder like triple or multiple.
We have come so far and we always have to look back and see where we've come, and we have to be happy about that. And I think women like you are pushing that envelope and making it easier for other women to really dream it and do it. Last but not the least, what would be your advice to women who would like to follow your footsteps or be in the field that is a male-dominated field?
Women have to support each other. It's not like, and I think women sometimes they are so competitive and they always try to push down. No, you have on the opposite. You have to give hands and support each other every time more, because you know you already have so many people pushing you down. You don't need more. On the contrary, you need people to push you up. You have to support, and people have their own qualities. So it's a matter of union.
Absolutely, and collaboration.
And collaboration, because two minds think better than one.
Thank you for coming on the show. You're so inspiring, and I learned so much about the whole industry of architecture today, and it's beautiful to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Emma. It was such a pleasure being here.
Thank you.